We are going to work on subtracting algebraic expressions today. We've been simplifying and adding, and now we're going to throw subtraction in there. So open your notes if you have a copy of the notes. If not, open your learning log. Title is Subtracting Expressions, and the learning target is I can subtract algebraic expressions. So get that filled in. We're going to do a quick review here. Question, what do we do here? When you see 3 times the quantity x plus 1, hopefully that reminds you to use that distributive property. And you're going to distribute. You're going to distribute that 3 to 1x using multiplication and a 3 to the 1. So both terms in there. The x did not have a coefficient of 1. We put that in. 3 times 1x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3, and that's a positive 3, right? So that's how that distributive property works, just as a reminder. So now looking at these two, what do these mean? You don't see a value outside that parenthesis, but just like when we don't see a coefficient and we write a 1 in, it's going to be the same thing here. But it's not going to be a positive 1. We're going to distribute a negative 1. So on the top one, we're doing negative 1 times 1x and negative 1 times 1, which would be negative 1x minus 1. And on the second one, we're doing negative 1 times 1x and negative 1 times negative 1, which would then be negative 1x plus 1. All right, we have a lot to remember with our integer rules and those things, but when you see that opposite sign on the outside of that parenthesis, essentially we're distributing a negative 1. All right, so how do I subtract expressions? We're going to use that idea of distributing a negative 1 to the terms in the parentheses after the subtraction sign. You can think of it that way. I'm just going to write distribute negative 1. And again, I said distribute negative 1 to terms in the parentheses or that come after that subtraction sign. So our first example, we have two quantities, 5x minus 9, and we're going to subtract from that 2x plus 7. Okay. My first expression, 5x minus 9, there's nothing in front of it. So we're not going to do anything there. But the idea with the second expression is that we're distributing a negative 1 because of that subtraction. So what that's going to look like, I'm going to leave this guy alone. And then on the second one, I'm going to take negative 1 times 2x and negative 1 times 7. Remember, we can write multiplication with a dot or parentheses. This guy still hasn't changed, 5x minus 9. Now we have a negative 2x and a negative 7. Negative 1 times positive 7 is negative 7. So we have 5x minus 9 minus 2x minus 7. If we can just write that as one big expression now. We know, or we should be able to tell there's 4 terms. 2 of them are variable terms with the same variable, and 2 are constants. Set them up vertically with their signs. And then do your math. 5x minus 2x is a battle. That's positive 3x. Negative 9, negative 7, that's a party. That's negative 16. 3x minus 16 is where we stop because we do not know how much x is, and we have a variable term and a constant. Let's try another. Move our line over here. We have 4x minus 3 minus x minus 3. All right, first parenthesis, nothing's happening, leave it alone. Here's where we're distributing a -1, -1 to 1x, and -1 times -3. That is a -3 there. So we have 4x minus 3, still nothing happened there. -1 times 1x is -1x. -1 times -3 is a +3. Remember your integer rules. A negative times a negative is a positive. All right, again, we have 4 terms. Doesn't always come out to be 4 terms, but it seems like it, doesn't it? We have a 4x and a -1x. We have a -3 and a +3. Line up your like terms vertically. 4x, -1x, -3, +3. 4x, -1x, that's a battle. Subtract, we have 3x. -3, +3, that's a battle. Hopefully you recognize that as a 0 pair. So that makes 0. Instead of writing 3x plus 0, you can just write 3x. And we stop there because, again, we still don't know what x is. Right, if you need a minute to copy down, you can pause, rewind. I'm going to erase and go on to page 2. Page 2 just has one more example. 2x minus 4 minus -2x plus 2. Let me make sure I got that right. Yes. Okay, so I'm distributing a -1 to the second expression. My first expression does not change. 2x minus 4. I'm doing -1 times -2x and -1 times +2. So I have 2x minus 4. That still hasn't changed. -1 times -2x is +2x. -1 times +2, -2. 4 terms. I have a +2x and a +2x, 2 variable terms, a -4 and a -2, 2 constants. Line up your like terms vertically with that variable term first. Now focus. Variable terms, constants. 2 + 2x, 2x plus 2x, 4x. It's a party. This is also a party, a -4 and a -2. Add them and keep the sign. It's a -6, so we write it as -6. We stop there because we don't know the value for x, so we can't solve. We're just simplifying through subtraction. If you have any questions, reach out and ask.